You open your banking app on the train, thumb in your password, and you are in. No code, no email, no extra question. The same morning, you try to move a larger amount from a coffee shop you have never sat in before, and suddenly the app wants a code, then a face scan, then a moment where it just thinks you did nothing different on purpose. But something behind the glass decided one of those moments was you, and the other one needed a second look. That something is an invisible identity machine, and it has been running the whole time, quietly grading every tap you make. Most people think a bank checks your password, and that is the door. The password is barely the start. By the time you finish typing it, the bank has already asked dozens of silent questions about the device in your hand, the way you held it, and the path your request took to reach them. The password is one answer. The rest of the test you never see. The password was never the lock. A password is a secret, and secrets leak. They get phished, reused, bought in bulk after some unrelated site spills its database. A bank that trusted the password alone would be robbed constantly because half the passwords in the world are already sitting in a list somewhere. So banks stop treating the password as proof of identity. They treat it as one weak signal among many, a thing you know, easy to steal, easy to fake. What actually decides whether you get in is a pile of other signals that are much harder to copy. Who is this device? Does it behave like you? Did this login arrive from a place and a moment that makes sense? The password gets you to the front of the line. Everything after it is the real interview. The device knows the device. The first thing the bank recognizes is not you. It is your phone. When you set up the app, the bank quietly binds your account to that specific device, planting a cryptographic key deep in the phone's secure hardware, a key that cannot be copied out and carried somewhere else. From then on, every login from that phone carries a tiny proof that it is the same trusted device that was there at the start. This is called device binding, and it is why a stolen password alone often goes nowhere. The thief has your secret, but not your phone. The bank sees a login attempt with the right password coming from a device it has never met, and that mismatch alone is enough to slam the door or demand far more proof. Reputation, not just identity. Beyond your own device, banks keep a quiet ledger on devices in general. A phone that has touched 40 different bank accounts in a week has a reputation, and it is not a good one. An emulator pretending to be a phone, a device that keeps wiping and reappearing as brand new, a handset that shows up from a different country every hour. All of these carry a smell the system has learned to recognize. This is device reputation, and it works a lot like a credit history for hardware. Your honest, boring phone, the one that has loaded your account from the same couch for 2 years, scores well precisely because it is boring. The machine Ford rings reach for, juggling hundreds of accounts, lights up as something that does not behave like a person's phone at all. Schnohands how you hold the phone, here is where it gets strange. The bank is also watching how you physically use the device, and it has been building a profile of it without ever telling you. The rhythm of your typing, the little pauses between letters, the pressure and angle as you tap, the way you swipe and scroll, even the slight tremor in how you hold the phone, all of it forms a pattern as personal as handwriting. This is behavioral biometrics, and the clever part is that it never asks you to do anything. You just use your phone the way you always do, and the system compares this session to the thousands of small movements it has seen from you before. A real account owner moves through the app with the relaxed muscle memory of habit. Someone reading your details of a stolen note, hunting for each field, moves like a stranger in your house, and the pattern does not match. The impossible trip. Next, the bank looks at where you are and how fast you appear to move, a login from your city, then 20 minutes later, a login from a country 8 hours away, describes a journey no human could make. You cannot be in two places at once, and you certainly cannot fly across an ocean between coffee breaks. This is a velocity check, and impossible travel is one of the loudest alarms it raises. It does not need to know exactly where you are, only whether your recent movements add up to a real body moving through a real world. When they do not, The bank assumes one of those sessions is not you, and it tightens everything around the account until it can be sure. All of these signals, the device, its reputation, your behavior, your location, the time of day, the amount you are trying to move, get poured into one place. A risk engine reads them together and produces a single number, a score for how likely it is that this exact moment is really you. It happens in the gap between your tap and the screen, responding faster than you can notice. This is the quiet brain of the whole system. It is not asking one question and getting one answer. It is weighing dozens of weak signals at once, the way an experienced teller might glance at a customer and feel that something is slightly off without being able to say why. Most of the time, the score is low, the moment looks normal, and you sail straight through without ever knowing the engine ran. Friction that appears on purpose. Now the part you actually feel. When that score is low, the bank stays out of your way. When it climbs, the bank starts asking for more. And that is the code, the face scan, the pause that suddenly appears. This is called step-up authentication. And the whole point is that it only shows up when the risk is high enough to justify the annoyance. So the extra hoops are not random and they are not the bank being clumsy. They are the system telling you, in the only language it has, that this particular moment looked unusual. A new device, a strange location, a large transfer, a pattern that did not quite match your usual hands. The friction is a thermostat, not a wall. It rises and falls with how risky the moment looks, which is why most of your logins feel effortless and the rare few suddenly do not. So how do you beat a machine like that? Here is where the other side comes in, and it is worth being honest about how the defense gets tested. Fraud rings study this machine for a living, and they have learned a hard lesson. Beating the device checks, the behavior models, and the risk engine head-on is brutally difficult. So they mostly do not try. Instead, they go after the one part of the system that was never hardened, the person. Every layer we just walked through guards the machine. None of it guards you from being talked into opening the door yourself. And that is the soft seam the whole criminal economy has crawled into. The technology got strong, so the attacks went human, talking the human into it. The most common move is social engineering, which is a polite phrase for manipulation. A convincing message or phone call, a fake fraud alert, an urgent warning that your account is under attack, all designed to frighten you into acting fast and thinking slow. The goal is to get you, the real account owner, to do the thing the machine would never let a stranger do. This matters because of how the risk engine works. When you log in yourself from your own trusted phone with your own familiar typing, the score is low, you look exactly like you because you are you. The attacker is not fighting the machine at all. They are using your good standing as the key, steering a verified, trusted session from behind a story. Banks know this, which is why they now watch for the signs of a person acting under pressure, hesitation that does not fit, a transfer that breaks every habit of the account. Stealing the one-time code. Then there is the famous one, the SIM swap. That 6-digit code the bank texts you was meant as a second proof, something you have, your phone number. But the phone number is not as nailed down as it feels. It lives with your mobile carrier, and if someone can convince that carrier to move your number onto a different device, the codes start arriving in the wrong hands. This is exactly why banks have been quietly walking away from text message codes as a strong proof. A code sent over text can be redirected by attacking the carrier instead of the bank. The harder defenses, the cryptographic key locked into your specific phone, the behavioral pattern that cannot be socially engineered out of a carrier rep, exist precisely because the texted code turned out to be a softer target than anyone wanted to admit. When banks push you toward an app prompt instead of a text, this is why. The login you make yourself, the cleverest attacks skip the technical break entirely. Instead of stealing your session, they convince you to hand it over live. A victim is talked into installing a screen sharing tool or following instructions step by step until they are the one logging in, while a stranger watches and directs. To the bank, this looks almost perfect. The right device, the right person, the right behavior. This is the hardest case for the machine because nearly every signal says yes. And it is exactly why the newest defenses look for the context around the login rather than the login itself. It's a remote access tool running during a banking session. Is the transfer being entered in a strange, halting way, as if read aloud by someone on a call? Did the destination account appear out of nowhere, never seen before, receiving an amount that does not fit? The bank stops asking only who is logging in and starts asking who is really in control. Why it watches the money, not just the door. This is the shift that ties it all together. For a long time, the whole battle was about the login, the moment of getting in. But once attackers learned to ride a real owner's trusted session, the login stopped being the place to win the fight. So the watching moved deeper onto the transaction itself. The same risk engine that scored your login scores every payment. A transfer to a brand new account for an unusual amount at an odd hour in a session that smells faintly of pressure gets its own quiet grade. This is why a payment can sail out one day and trigger a hold the next. The bank is not judging whether you can log in, it is judging whether this specific movement of money looks like something you would really choose to do. The double edge of friction. So here is the honest reckoning. Every layer of this machine has a cost, and you pay it in small moments of annoyance. The extra code when you travel, the transfer that stalls for review, the login that suddenly wants your face. It feels like the bank does not trust you, and in a sense it does not. Because trust is exactly the thing being tested, fresh every single time. But turn it around. The same friction that interrupts you is the only thing standing between your money and a stranger who has your password, or your phone number, or a frightening story ready to go. A system with no friction is a system that lets everyone in. The moments that annoy you the most are usually the moments it is working the hardest, catching something on the other side of the glass you will never see. The goal was never to make the door easy. It was to make it easy for exactly one person and hard for everyone wearing that person's stolen mask. If pulling the hidden machinery apart like this is your kind of thing, the quiet systems running under the buttons we all tap without thinking, then you are in the right place. No products here, no upsell, just the systems explained by someone who has spent a long time inside them. Subscribe and follow the rabbit hole. Next time, we follow a thread that starts the moment you feel safe. You cleared your cookies, you wiped your history, you did everything you were told, and you are still being followed. The hidden ways you are tracked after deleting cookies, and why the cookie was never the thing watching you in the first place.